Hello everyone and welcome to Education Checkup. I'm Johnette Magner. We're a weekly podcast here at KTBS and we cover what is happening in education in Northwest Louisiana. I am joined today by my co-host, Dr. Phillip Rozeman. He is a cardiologist by occupation, but he's here as a champion of education in Louisiana. He is past chairman of Blueprint Louisiana and a founder of the Shreveport-Bossier Business Alliance for Higher Education. Welcome, Dr. Rozeman.
Well, thank you. We're going to have a special guest today. We're at LSUS and we're speaking to Lucas Morgan, who's the director of athletics here at the school and our school. And before I get too far and I forget, we've heard so much about the basketball program and the two coaches, the coach that did both, and both in postseason play. So just tell us a little bit about that, because I think people are interested in knowing how all that went.
Of course, and I appreciate you having me on. Happy to be here. So yeah, we had a very unique situation that happened this year. Our women's basketball coach had to resign prior to the start of the season, so we got put in a position with about a week before the team was supposed to practice and start playing, and it was one of those where you do you go outside, do you get additional people, do you try to find somebody when it's not a hiring phase, or do you utilize the resources that you have? And Coach Blankenship has been a part of our program for about 12 seasons now. And I went to him and I said, hey, Coach, what do you think about this? And his initial thought was, how are we going to make this work? So I went back, I got the schedule, I presented it to him, and I said, there's really only one situation here where you won't be able to coach both teams. So he agreed to it, and we ended up with really one of the best seasons in women's basketball history, with a 30-3 season and a national tournament win and a couple championships.
Well, now, is he going to have to choose now whether he's going to stay with men, or since he's so good at coaching women?
He did a great job, but I think his heart is probably with the men. I don't think it's something that's probably sustainable long term. So we are in the process of finding a new women's coach. Now, if we don't find somebody that we think meets that expectation and that standard that he set for the program this year, it is possible that we could end up with him coaching again.
And just make sure you pay him more.
Yeah.
Don't do it for free. I'll tell Dr.
Is anything for free anymore?
Coach. All right, history of sports at LSU Shreveport. I mean, since sports began at LSU Shreveport, it seems that it has been very much a winning formula in all the sports that you've done. And let's start with basketball. Talk a little bit about basketball and what's going on in the university there.
Yeah, so sports started in the 90s. Basketball ended in the mid-90s, but they brought it back in 2003, so we've had it for over 20 years again since it's come back. They've got the longest streak in the country, 20 straight national tournament appearances, which I don't think we understand how special that is sometimes. I'll give you an example. Last year in the national tournament, we played a team that was in their first ever appearance in the national tournament. So for a team to be able to do what they've done and win at the level that they've won at is something that is really uncommon and something special happening in Shreveport. So we've had only two coaches in the program. Chad McDowell did it for about 10 years, and Kyle has now done it for another 10 or 11 years at that point. So it's been very impressive what they've been able to sustain.
Well, listen, where does such basketball talent come from? Is it from mainly around here or other places? How do you recruit such talent?
So he's been able to recruit nationally. We've had a lot of players from a lot of different parts of the country. But really, in the last couple of years, he focused a little more locally. We had some kids from Baton Rouge, some from Natchitoches, and then we've had some Shreveport kids over time. So I think he's realized that we've got some pretty impressive talent that's fairly local that he's been able to attract to the program. Just this last year, we signed a kid that had played at LSU under Will Wade. Josh LeBlanc played for us this year. So we've got some very high-level student athletes that have played at top Division I programs that have found their way to Shreveport and been a part of our program.
Well, no, this is not NCAA, but it's NAIA. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I think people don't always realize what the NAIA is. Everybody thinks about NCAA Division I. But I would say it's probably most closely related to NCAA Division II. Size of school, type of student athletes, type of competition, similar budgets. So that's probably where I would say that we're at. But if you look at a lot of our rosters are Division I transfers. We're getting kids from all over the country: Oklahoma State, UConn, Alabama, LSU, that for one reason or another, their experience there wasn't what they wanted it to be, so they've transferred to us and been All-Americans and have done some great things.
Yeah. You know, I've gone to a couple of games, and I got to tell you, it was fun. I mean, it was run and gun. It was not any of this deliberative basketball.
Score a lot of points.
Yeah, score a lot of points and have a good time. Is it still that way now? Or?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've had some teams that are very impressive, and that's Kyle's style. And it's been that way with the women's program. Women's program this past year scored over 100 points, I think 5 times. And you don't see that a lot of times in the women's games. It seems to be a little bit low scoring, but the game's changed. People are still playing defense, but the way that the referees are calling the games and the type of student athletes that you have now, there's a lot of points being scored.
Yeah. And I know basketball's been the first one, but I think the second one was baseball. And the same kind of success seems to have been at the baseball team too. Can you tell us a little about the history of baseball and what's going on now?
Of course. And baseball is the one sport that we have that started from the time that athletics started in the early 90s that has continued to today. So it's been something that we've really tried to build a lot of what we do around. I think 20 is the magic number because our baseball team has done the same thing, 20 straight national tournament trips, which is pretty uncommon as well. But they're ranked number 2 in the country right now. We've had several kids that have gone on to play professional sports. We're 29-3. I was looking at this the other day. We've got the championships up on the outfield wall. And for 12 consecutive years, we've either won the regular season and a tournament championship within our conference. So doing some special things there as well.
Yeah.
Now, when you say ranked number 2 in the NAIA, is that what
in the top 25 national poll, we are the number 2 team in the country right now.
Wow. And do your baseball team come from scholarships or these?
Yeah, so every program we have is scholarships, and that's something that we really focused on when I got here in 2016, was continuing to find ways to get the high level quality of student athlete that we've gotten here. And we knew that facilities was something that was important for us to do that, but we also knew that scholarships were going to be important. When people are making their decisions, one of the first things they think about is how much is it going to cost me to go there. So we knew that one of our real focuses was going to be continuing to try to adapt the budget and fundraise and get the resources in to be able to get those type of student athletes here. And we've been pretty successful with that.
Yeah, speaking about that, they say, or you hear, as far as sports is concerned, football makes a lot of money for a lot of teams.
It does.
Not quite as much with basketball and baseball. In fact, sometimes there has to be money coming from somewhere. It's not self-supporting. Is that the case? And then what do y'all do to make up the difference?
Yeah, so we've been fortunate that enrollment at LSUS has just skyrocketed. When I got here in 2016, I would say we were probably about 4,500 students. We're now over 10,000. And that's been a focus of our new chancellor as well, as continuing to grow. Our budget is based a lot on enrollment. Most of our money comes from student fees, so the more students we have, the more successful our budget has been. So, we've been able to capitalize on a lot of growth at LSUS. The other thing that we do is from a fundraising standpoint. We focus a lot of time on really trying to bring our alumni into what we're doing. They're kind of the lifeblood of our athletic department, so it's important that we build those relationships with them. We keep them involved in what we're doing. We're part of the decision-making process, and then they've been able to really help supplement our budget with being able to fundraise for us.
Are there any? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say one thing that I've always been interested in is the degree to which different schools make sure that their athletes at the end of the day graduate with a degree. And they're not just coming to play their sport, they're going to college. Talk about how you all support that concept.
And that's exactly right. And I think sometimes it gets lost that people think, oh, they're just going there and they're an athlete and they're a jock and they're not paying attention to the other stuff. And that's not been a focus at all of what we've been trying to accomplish. We know that a lot of our student athletes are first generation students. We've got a lot of our kids that come in that their parents never went to college, and if they didn't have the scholarships and the athletic ability that they have, they probably wouldn't be in college either. So that's been a big focus of ours. We've now completed 8 straight semesters of a 3.0 GPA in our athletic department, so it's been very important for us and our coaches to be able to really make sure that from the day that they step into LSUS that they're going to class and they're doing well in the classroom. And it's pretty uncommon for an athletic department to have the kind of success that we're having from a competitive standpoint, but also to be as successful as we've been in the classroom.
Yeah, it must take really concentrating on it, because it's got to be difficult on that child who's a first generation college student, doesn't really have an idea about what all goes on in the college or university, come and play athletics, which takes a ton of time, and then still be able to study and keep up. So what extra help are you giving them?
And I think we've got a great coaching staff that understands that they're not there just to do the X and O's, that they're there to help set up these kids for life after athletics. So life skills are extremely important. Our coaches are teaching time management. They're teaching responsibilities outside just being an athlete. We work very closely with our Student Success Center. They have done a tremendous job in helping us, because we don't have a large staff. When you look at the staff of LSUS in comparison to like an LSU as an example, we're pretty much a skeleton crew. We've got a head coach, and some of our programs have a full-time assistant and maybe a GA. Our soccer programs don't even have a full-time assistant. They've got a GA who's helping them out. So our coaches are really responsible for monitoring a lot of the academic progress as well, and that's where our Student Success Center has stepped up and been able to help us with tutoring and academic coaches and a lot of the things that keep our student athletes on track.
One of the other things that you read about from time to time is when student athletes, they're still young. I mean, you think about, these are still kids, and they make mistakes. They go out and they do something and get arrested or whatever, and then it's in the spotlight in the ways that other students aren't. What do you all do to help your student athletes understand that they are representing the school and that their behavior is really important?
Absolutely. And we've been fortunate that we haven't really had any issues where the student athletes have been in the spotlight other than academic achievements and athletic achievements. But we meet with them. We meet with them regularly. We teach them the life skills. One of the first things we do when they get to campus is we have a full athletic department meeting where I stand up and I lay out the expectations of what it means to be a student athlete at LSU Shreveport. And then we have several people from the different areas of our campus, our Title IX department, our student advocacy department, our police chief and his staff, who come in and talk about what it means to be a student athlete on our campus. And if they were to make the mistakes, some of the repercussions that can happen and some of the things that could possibly be taken away.
Yeah, it's sometimes we lose track of how, what goes on in their lives other than in just the academics. And when I look at it, a lot of times I see people who have been college athletics, how much they learned from that experience and how much better employees they are from the life skills that I think athletics teaches people. And then when you get to athletics to the college level, even more so.
And mental health is something that is very important for us in our development of our student athletes. You're seeing more and more of those young adults that are dealing with some of the things that maybe we didn't deal with when we were younger. Social media has changed a lot of the landscape and given access to a lot of people that maybe there wasn't before that. COVID's another thing that made it a challenge for a lot of our student athletes who were in high school, some were in college when their lives were kind of changed. So we make sure that we have those resources available. We worked very closely with our counseling department to be able to help any of those student athletes that are struggling. But that's another thing that we preach to a lot of people that are looking to hire people is student athletes are the ones that have been challenged with the mental strength side of it. They've been challenged with the time management side of it. They're extremely competitive. And those are what, at least I know when I'm hiring people, those are a lot of the things that I look for, a lot of the skills that I look for. And I think athletics does a great job teaching these young adults how to manage those things to be able to be successful once they get into the professional world.
Yeah. And you said you were in the Red River Conference. What other schools are in the Red River Conference that you play
So
against?
probably locally that people would recognize is Texas A&M Texarkana. They're one of our more recent rivals that we've got. LSU Alexandria is another one that is probably our biggest rival. Louisiana Christian. We do have some HBCUs as well. Texas College, Jarvis Christian, which are about an hour away. And then we extend even further than that. Xavier down in New Orleans, Our Lady of the Lake in San Antonio, University of the Southwest out in Hobbs, New Mexico. So we've got some pretty significant trips that we make.
Yeah, those trips, that's all by car, I imagine?
Yeah, so we take bus to a lot of the trips that we take. Some of the closer ones, we do take 15-passenger vans, but we've started to move more away from that because you're asking coaches to drive after they've spent all day coaching a game. And, you see a lot of the accidents that happen late at night because of 15-passenger vans. So I think you'll see a lot of colleges and universities continue to try to move away from that and travel in the charter buses.
Mm-hmm. What do you want the audience or people to know about the athletic program at LSU? How can they get in touch with it? How can they find out when the games are? I mean, how to get Shreveport involved? So
we have a social media presence. We've got a Twitter account. We've got a Facebook account. We've got an Instagram account where we're constantly putting out when our games are, game day announcements. We've got a website, LSUSathletics.com, that has all of our schedules on it. But I think probably the most important thing that I want people to realize about our department is that it's inexpensive. It's family friendly. It gives you an opportunity to get close to high level student athletes and coaches that you wouldn't if you were to go to, let's say, Baton Rouge, where you're spending $100 a ticket to go to a game, where you're parking a mile away, you're sitting up in the stands, you don't have access, where go to one of our games and you're literally sitting on the court for $10. After the games, your kids have an opportunity to go take pictures, get autographs, interact with the student athletes. At baseball games, we let them run the bases after the game. So you still have the opportunity to see high-level student athletes, high-level college athletics competition without having to pay the money and feel like you're not really a part of the event.
So you all have one sport, I think it's classified as a sport, that you do really well in, that I love. Fishing.
We do.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So talk about your fishing team.
Yep, so we got a bass fishing program. It's been around for a while, but we've really tried to ramp it up here in the last few years and try to make it more of that varsity sport, because technically it falls under a club sport, because the NCAA and the NAIA to this point, for some reason, haven't recognized it as a true varsity sport, but we don't treat it that way. And Coach Charles Thompson has done a tremendous job recruiting from all over the state, even regionally, to get some high-level anglers in here. They travel all over the country. They've gone up to New York. They've gone to Florida. They've gone to many different places, but they've been ranked right around the top 10 for several years now.
That is so fun. I wish I could get in a boat and have them teach me how to do it.
I bet we can make that happen.
Yay, okay.
I think it's amazing what y'all are doing with the regular sports, but also, and I know it's not your end of your job description, but a lot of people get out of high school, go to college, they play in high school, they don't play in college, but intramurals become a big deal. Do y'all have intramural things that for people to be able to be a part of that are students at the school?
The students can play sports who aren't any good at them.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it. But yes, we do. And, we really try to break down the walls and not have silos at LSUS. So although a lot of things maybe don't fit necessarily in our job description, we try to work closely with each other to enhance the experience of all the students on campus. So yes, we do. We've got basketball, we've got flag football, we've got soccer. They've got softball fences set up right now in our backfields to go play competitive softball. So they've done a tremendous job really trying to enhance the atmosphere. And our chancellor has done a great job of really trying to focus on that on-ground undergraduate population and try to make LSUS a fun environment for all the students that come in.
We end this a lot of times. It's been fantastic learning all about what's going on in sports in LSU Shreveport, and it is an unknown quantity that we need to know more about as a community, and I appreciate you coming and sharing this with us. I would usually close with a couple of questions. The first is, any thoughts as far as things that you want to leave people as far as wisdom to either related to your job or just wisdom that you use at home?
Yeah, and I think, probably more directed at the young kids that are coming up, is that there's always going to be opportunities to play collegiately if they want to. And the harder they work and the more they develop now, those doors are going to continue to open. And I think that, my son's 9 years old and he plays baseball and he plays soccer and I think the more things that they can be a part of, the more it's going to develop them as a person and the more it's going to help them grow. I think athletics teaches so many skills that you don't get if you're not out there. Teamwork and drive and competitiveness and being able to work with people. So, I encourage those parents and those students to really continue to get out there and be active and get their kids as many things as they can get them into.
And obviously you can live anywhere in the world, but what's special about Shreveport-Bossier? What draws you here?
One of the things that I think I like most about this is the variety of people and experiences that you can have here. I've never been in a place that has quite the culture that it has. I'm from the Midwest, I'm from Kansas, so being able to come down here and live the Southern lifestyle and be exposed to the amount of things that you're exposed to, I think you don't get that everywhere. And that's one of the things that we've continued to try to talk to our candidates for our jobs, is that you can't get the experiences that you get here really in anywhere else. And we've loved it here. We've been here for 8 years. I think I told our chancellor 3 to 5 years and I'd be moving on, and here we are 8 years later and we're still here.
Well, we're glad you're here and we hope you stay longer, and appreciate you taking your time to come out and talk with us today. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you as well. I appreciate being here.
All right, and thank you for joining us for Education Checkup. You can view our other podcasts anywhere you listen to them, or go to our website at k2bs.com/podcast. Have a good day and be sure to join us next time for Education Checkup.